Yeah. Giuliani.
Hi.
Hi. Lindsay Graham and what have we got here? That's my phone going off with another email. And somebody else has been subpoenaed, so it's like, hi everyone. Yeah, my phone's just sent me it's just come through on my phone the email you sent me earlier. But it came through on my computer as well. Hi everyone. We'll just see if any people can join because I got the times mixed up again. I said, do you
That's
want to do another
okay.
round with the live?
I
And
don't know. We ought to figure out. I've got a world clock on my iPhone, and
yeah,
what is a big city close in the same time zone you are at, and I'll put it in my
Sydney. I'm two
Sydney.
hours behind Sydney or Beijing. I'm in the same time zone as Beijing. Um, yeah. So
Okay, let's see what we can do. Beijing, is it spelled like
B
BEI?
E J I N G.
Okay,
Hi
BE.
Vivian. Hi Michelle, my bell. I got the time zones mixed up, my darlings, and of course came in after these guys had finished. Oh yeah, Rudy Giuliani, Lindsey Graham, and John Eastman have all been subpoenaed uh, by the 1-6 in election in the in not for the 1-6. They've all been subpoenaed by Fulton County in the Georgia election probe. So, yep, that's so they've all been subpoenaed by Fulton County in Georgia for the election probe, and yeah, so
Yeah, really.
yeah, so I just
Yeah.
thought that's really interesting. But again, oh no, another person died. 7 counts of murder. Oh, another person's died from Highland Park, which is just
It's
the number of tragedies over the last couple of weeks, just
yeah,
abroad as well with Denmark, and then with that truck full of people. It's just like, oh,
I know. It
what is it?
the
Linda G like to say, this too will pass, and it's like things will get better. And
yeah,
might seem that they never will, but they will, my darlings.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, it doesn't seem like that
no.
sometimes, and we're like it's like that black wall that's ahead of us is it keeps getting taller, but we have
Mm,
to realize that you know we are the light,
mm,
and the light precedes the darkness. So that is the way we have to think,
mm,
because it, if we stand together and
mm,
write our congressmen, right? I mean, I
mm,
know in Republican states, I know that you feel like it, it's fallen on deaf ears.
mm.
But there is an app that that because I heard Nancy Jean talk about it, and I cannot think of what it is right now because um, I couldn't find it at the time, and I thought I would just rewatch this video. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of. I think it was on Celtic Tarot Sheila or maybe Scott Allen, and but she was saying that there's an app that President, I think she said her and Obama used it to um, they put where you were supposed to email them to, and you put your response in and everything, so that when they are at the Senate arguing something, and the senator says, "Oh well, I haven't heard a thing about that from my constituents," they can say, "What about those you know 40,000 emails to you on such and such, those 30,000 emails to you on such and such, those
Oh,
hundred
yeah,
one."
I remember something about that app, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So
there was a fuss. Oh, it's an invasion of privacy and all that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a an app that would make it so that they could have documentation of what we are trying to represent. So it's, you know, our voice can be heard, you
Mm.
know.
I think one of the things that, especially in red states, is that again, I live in one of the best countries in the world to live in. Is with regard to political system, it is imperfect. No political system is perfect, but I am so lucky that. No, but there are times when I'm like just grumbling about rates or even, and I'm like, well, why don't you go and stand for council next time or whatever? And I'm like, I'm not sure that I'm up to that. So it's like but I do feel like right at the grassroots, it's right down to the local area. That's where change has to develop
Mhm.
from. You
Yeah.
get rid of the rat bags at the local level, and then the next level up, and then the next level up. And why is it so important at the local level? Because the local county clerks and things like that, they're the ones who like organise
Well,
voting,
like the
voting
the
access, and all
Secretary of
that sort of
State,
stuff. Mm.
the
And
Secretary of State does,
yeah,
you
Secretary of
know,
Yeah, but even local county clerk level, I mean, there was a case a couple of years ago where the county clerk, there's only going to be one box,
yeah, yeah,
and that's it. And and they had to organise in this county, and they had to organise another box across the county line that they had to
hmm
drive people to. So there's only going to be one box in the town, and it was only going to be open on, you know, this, and this. So even right down at that level, where people have the decision making power for something, of how many voting booths or places there's going to be, you have to get rid of the rat bags there too. And
hmm
yeah, so it's got to, it's no good getting rid of the high ups if down at the grassroots level, that's where a lot of the rot is. You've got to clear out that rot too. Um, so, but like I said, I might complain about the rates, and I challenge myself, well, why don't you go and stand for council? And I'm like, so I'm imperfect and all that. So I can understand why people might. So I'm not going to tell people, why don't you go and stand for your local area and all
right.
that? Because it's like, I've thought about doing it myself, mine, and it's like, a
Yeah,
lot of work.
I mean,
And
that is a lot of work.
you guys, we don't need a certain number of signatures here. Just have to register, and pay a fee. But you guys, you have to get, even just to stand for a county school board or something, you have to get something like 500 signatures or something,
Yeah,
and things like that. And it's like, it is a lot of hard work. And
yeah.
it's like,
Well, and
hmm,
the big thing though is we we need to, and I guess I'm talking to the kind of like preaching at the choir, but um, we need to have the resolution, the resoluteness
mm,
to keep at it, to
yeah,
keep going,
keep
to
trying, keep trying.
keep trying. And it, when you are in a place where you can just explain things like, um, you know, this is how you treat a human being. It's not, and I'm not saying it will always be this way because sometimes people get in your face and you can't help but show anger. And so don't beat yourself up is what I'm telling you. But you also need to get familiar enough with this feeling to be able to accept it enough to argue cool with a cool head, because that's
Mm,
more people listen to you when you that they think, well, she had a point. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know what I'm trying to say? But when passion is required. And
Mm.
so that's the thing about human rights. We've got to figure out how to express ourselves without um, all of the just the negativity, the
Yeah.
rage, the you can feel the rage, but and you can feel dedication to your cause,
Hmm.
but if you fuel the rage, that that leads you down another path, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got to follow. Yeah. If you feel it, take it as far as you can. You might only be able to take it so far.
Right.
And here's one thing. Like I was complaining about the council and why don't I run? Federal elections and state elections, voting is mandatory in Australia, but the local government election, you don't have to vote if you don't want to.
Oh,
And we've been into the city of Wanneroo for 14 years now, and
mhm.
I have to say, I'm ashamed to say that this last local government election is the first one we actually voted in. And I said to Jane, you know what? You know, we don't have to vote in this one, but we should.
Mhm.
We should. And and I think that's to like. I think there's much less of a turnout for local government elections in Australia, of course, because it's not mandatory. But I said no. From now on, we are. I didn't exactly order my husband to vote in local government election, but I encouraged him.
Yes.
Sophie, oh darling, yeah, you've been having a rough trot, sweetheart. Please take care of yourself. Go and get some really good rest and stuff. Um, so yeah.
Anyway,
Mm.
okay.
So
Okay.
but it is really important. And what do you think? Do you think that people are going to start realizing that they've got to get right down to the local level issues
I hope so. I
and
hope they
voting
really.
a lot of these people out? I think there's all this talk of MAGA madness, MAGA mad people, and all that, and election deniers, putting their hand up for local seats and all that, and local positions is it should put the wind up people, and they should go and say, right, no, you're not going to get this. You know,
Yeah.
this town is not going to be swamped by you idiots. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I think that we need grassroots. I mean, we need to do this from from the lowest level, the dog catcher, the lowest level up.
yeah,
Because if we don't change something, we will be set back by 70
yeah,
years.
it's no
And
good expecting somebody in Washington to fix what's wrong in your town. You have to fix what's going on right down at the grassroots level in your town. You can't expect a, a federal senator in Washington to come in and boot the local corrupt school board chairman out.
yeah,
That's not their job. Their job is to look after your federal needs and to make sure you get what is needed from the federal government and even the state government senators. It's not their job to go in and boot out a local uh, election board or
well, I
corrupt
mean,
person. Their job is to make sure that you get what you need from the state for your state representative. What you need to do is that you need to boot out the people at those levels and stuff like that cause
well,
problems. And often a lot of these idiots that you see up there, they start at a local level Don't let them get any further. But that's easy for me to say. That's easy for me to lecture people on and stuff because um, I don't live in that system. To me, it seems clear cut, but it's not always clear cut, is it? It's not
No.
always clear cut, and it's not always as simple as it sounds. And you know, and all you can do is try.
Okay. Does any? Okay. Let's. let's
Clear the
let's
air.
clean the air. And because I am, I get aggravated, and
Mm,
I'm working on myself. I mean, I'm not like talking the talk and not walking the walk,
yeah.
because that, I know I get too passionate about
Mm,
when things are bothering me, and
mm,
so I know that I have to be more accepting of what I trying to change that
mm,
which I can,
yeah.
and the trying to find out the best way to change something that I resolutely is it's going to change.
Mm,
And so I'm going to I mean I've thought about it for years. I mean,
mm,
it's not because the the way that women are treated, the way that gays are treated, the way that um, black people are treated, the way brown people are treated, the way blah 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 blah. It's always made me crazy, and I've sit here and pulled up my hair and everything, and I'm like, why can't we just talk about humans? It's
mm.
I just, and then they get into the rich are evil, well the poor, oh they're nasty, and I'm like, oh my god, we're human. Stop
Yes,
it.
yeah. There are unfortunately some really, really evil people in the world, but there's for every really evil person, there's a million great people,
That's right.
and it's the great people we should. And it's not how much money they have or don't have that makes them great or
Mhm.
not. It's what's in their heart, and how they choose to conduct themselves. Anyway, I do you want to read some cards, my darling?
Yes. Why don't we read some cards?
What would you like
Um,
to read on?
well, how about let's just do a read for um for a peaceful or more tranquility in the world. More
More
tranquility in the world.
tranquility in the world.
What can we do?
For more tranquility in the world.
Yeah, for more tranquility.
Judgment. I'm going to draw 3 cards on this.
Okay.
The Tower. And the Lovers. Wow, 3 major arcana. One from one end of the deck, one from the middle of the deck, and one from the other end of the deck. Within that. Firstly, the Judgment is you have to keep fighting. You have to keep saying, you know, keep saying we need to do more to help others and to bring peace about. But also not be so judgmental of you may disagree with someone's politics and stuff, but it doesn't mean you have to learn. We used to be able to look beyond that, learn to do that again. So, okay, I totally disagree with your politics, But you know what? You're a good, kind person, and I love that about you. And I give you the right. So stop putting that judgment about political differences ahead of everything else. Stop putting it right at the start, and also to keep fighting out and to keep yelling out against injustice. Um, you don't always have to use violence about that, but keep using your voice. That helps. The other thing, the next card was the Tower. Often horrible things happen. There's two different ways in which catastrophes can happen in the world. One is natural events, and the other are caused by man for whatever reason, whether it be wars, corruption, religious, you know, religious extreme on many, many cases. I mean, look what the Spanish did with the Spanish Inquisition, you know, um, and that was hundreds of years ago. So there's two ways in which catastrophic events can be brought away, around. One, if it's natural, reach out and help as much as you can, wherever it's helping to look after your own community so that they don't need resources that can be sent to other communities. Or and what I mean by that is when I was in the state emergency service, um, after major events, we would have people who would do everything they could to look after themselves, and would wait for days to call the SES because they wanted to do as much as they could themselves so that the SES could help people they thought needed it more. Okay, so do as much as you can for yourself and your community around you in an event, a natural event, so that resources can be spent where they're needed. And don't feel ashamed if you do need to reach out for help. Okay, if you've done everything you can, and then you need to reach out for help, believe me, the emergency services will appreciate it, that
Right.
you've done so much for yourself. And you know, I know this from personal experience. Okay, and they will see, oh my God, she's done all this by herself, or they've done all this by themselves, and they have not asked. They just need that little bit of extra hand, and we can give them that because you know we have that bit left. So naturally, and also help where you can. If you can help on the ground in major situations, do so. The other form of catastrophic event is, of course, the man-made ones, the ones by human greed or, like I said, extremes, religious extremes for any, there's extremists for every type of faith and belief, except maybe Buddhist. Um, but I've never heard of a Buddhist extremist. Have you?
No.
I've never heard of a Buddhist extremist, but I've heard of every other extremist from so many different religions. Um, but I'm not just talking about religion. So take what, in those things, use what insights you've gained from watching these things happen, and try and take the lessons learned and the insights gained to work on making relationships better where they can, or taking down the corruption, the corrupt officials. And often religious extremists are also corrupt as well. Um, so take those insights and use them to fight those individuals, not necessarily fire with fire, but use the information
Smarter.
wisely. And the other way to get to a more tranquil world is to encourage agreement. This is the lovers and relationships based on love of humanity. not love of money or common deities or anything, just love of humanity.
Mm.
That's that's what I got from those three cards: the
Yeah.
judge, the tower, and the lovers.
Well, what I got was, you know, how to make the tranquility in the world, but still to be on the path to fighting, to keeping people lifted up.
Mm.
And I got the Eight of Pentacles, which,
Mhm.
see, there it has the phases of the moon, and
Mhm.
here around it there is there is whales and bears and horses and deer and all kinds of birds and fox running around that circle. So what this is about is, yes, it's about um, you know, the Pentacles made like an apprenticeship, keeping at it, pecking away, keeping at it, because that when things are a mindset that you have to overcome, the only way to do that is generationally. And our generation thought thinks a lot more. Um, uh, it's like the things that my grandmother said were that she just said because she said it when she, when I was a young girl and I heard Granny say a word that was not right. I said, "Oh, Granny, that can, I mean, that's an insult. That can hurt somebody's feelings." And she was like, "Oh, I never meant to do that. I didn't know." And I was like, "Yeah, what that word means is blah blah blah." And she was just, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness."
Yeah, but
And
when she was using it, it was commonplace and often had a different meaning.
yes,
I mean, that's the thing. That's my one of my favourite things from the 1950s is this TV show Leave It to Beaver, is it? And his name
mhm.
is Beaver Cleaver, which just cracks me up now. But back then, I don't think anybody would have thought about it. So sorry, let's go back to what you were saying.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody, yeah, 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 exactly. Um, and we got the devil. We're going to have to face the corruption and the um, you know, the just the chains that have always been on us, but we were not actually aware of it. And that's one of the things that we're going to have to do is become unanesthetized to the um, discrimination that's happening, because it's like I just, to move forward, I just I've ignored a lot of BS in my life. But you get so used in order to function and not be a raging, you know, python, striking at everybody, "Arr!" You have to anesthetize yourself to certain things and only get mad whenever it touches a chord somewhere.
Mhm.
And I understand you did that for survival, but now you need to look, and I'm not saying look at every little thing they're doing and run and, you know, have them on it. No. What, and have an argument with them about it. No. What I'm saying is look at everything now that you can see it and find one of the most common things that is clearly discrimination, you know, and then that Republican woman that, she that has, you know, said something to you before about, well, I don't want to talk politics or blah blah blah. But she's rational. She's not necessarily, um,
Hmm.
you know, uh, uh,
Rabid.
rabbit or a rabid thing. And
Yeah.
you just say, well, look at this, this, and this, and present it just in a casual way.
Hmm.
And then it's like all of the for every one person, whenever you walk away, you're not talking politics. You're not bringing politics into it. You're
Hmm.
making her see that yeah, I, because she has to feel it just like you do.
Hmm.
She has to feel it.
Yep.
So learning how to talk.
Michelle. Yeah.
And
Michelle's right. Yeah. Sorry.
I
Mhm.
think I think I think it's stepping out of that five of wands energy, stepping out of beating people over the head. Maybe that was
Mhm.
why I kept talking about this. I think you need you need that soothing waters over you to just relax and go with the flow. But you
Mhm.
also need that air, that thought process, that mental. So take the thing, the most common thing that you are seeing happening to you and everyone else, and read up, investigate, whatever. Really plan out what you're going to say the first time you've ever said it,
Mm.
because I think after that first time,
Mhm.
you will be inspired. After that first time doing it, you will have inspiration from that point. And if you feel like you're doing something to change minds, you're doing something to, because most of the Republican people aren't all crazy MAGA heads. I mean,
Oh, there's so many good, really decent people who,
yeah,
and they don't necessarily agree with the extremes in conservative,
yeah. I mean,
a
you
little
know,
moderate, and say, okay, I look and I can see what uh, this liberal person is saying and how they want to change, and I agree with that there needs to be some change, but I think there's a different way to approach it, and that's how
yeah,
things used to work. That is
yeah,
what bipartisanship was,
yeah,
where they would each say, look, we can both see a common goal here, but we have a different way of approaching it. And let's work together to get it done the best way. And that's what bipartisanship was.
yeah.
And of course, it was all
And
either
I
one
just,
way or the other after certain people came in. So
yeah,
it's like,
I'm just like floundering,
mm,
trying to figure out how we ever get that back, because it's like everything is an attack instead of a debate, and that's crazy.
you have to
And
get rid of the attackers. That's the thing. It's those there has to, yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's yeah, you've got to go from the attack to the back to the debate, and yeah, it, but as I said, I live in a different country. I live under a different political system. I've never ever had to deal with. Well, I have had to deal with some rabid right wingers actually, and it's like you try and debate them, and they shout them and they shout you down.
yeah, and
So
they get it 2 inches from you and everything, and you're like, okay, dude, we can't talk, and walk away. But
mm,
you aren't sharing any information, and it's it's so annoying. But when you get somebody that doesn't agree with you and kind of argues you down, they're angry, and then you're talking to them in a rational tone of voice and everything, and then they slowly decelerate, and
Mm,
then they'll then they're relaxed and they're like, well, yeah, I see what you're saying, but what I don't believe in is that and then it's like now, instead of doing that like normal,
mm,
it's like this is a special case, and I mean, it's crazy. And so even normal Republicans, normal acting Republicans, um, it's like they don't want to talk politics, as well as the Democrats, as well as everybody. It's like there's there's a sense of fear there because of the fact that they just don't want to mess with it, because so they're ignoring it, they're sweeping it under the rug because
mm,
they don't want to mess with it, they don't want to.
mm,
And I think everyone has the passion,
mm,
everyone has the um, I mean, I always try to talk to everybody, even if they're screaming at me, like in the same manner that I'm speaking to you, you know.
mm,
But the thing that gets to me is we need to figure out what works, and somebody write it down, pass it around, you know, and then figure out something else that really seems to work, and write it down someplace, like on a post in a community page or something, so that people have something to draw off of, because it's like there's so the weight is so big
mm,
right now. It feels like you're smothering, and when you're smothering, you're going to fight it, and
mm,
fighting it is not the best course of action exactly right now. You want motivation, you want decision, but putting that fear of being crushed
mm.
into it, that's a little bit too. I don't know. I just want people to use use their common sense, use their how do you change minds? How do you change the world? How do you make people listen to you? How do you blah 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 blah? And I'm just gonna be going around and around and around, because you know I'm the same way all the time. But it's like whenever I'm in the store, whenever I'm da da da, I see all these people, and they're almost at each other's throat on a daily, and they're not. I think it's just there's so much tension,
Mm.
and I I've been desperately trying to think of how to make it better.
I think it's all you can do is keep your approach as you are. But it's just there's no 100% right approach for any of it, you know.
Yeah,
And what might work in one instance would not work in the other. And it's, hi Bora Bora 333, Michelle Shining Light, Viviane, Michelle Mabel, um,
I
Sophie.
mean, yeah, it's so
Um,
hard. You need the passion to motivate yourself and keep going, and so
you
you
just
will
got to
not stop.
keep talking in a reasonable and rational way. But you know that people who have always gotten their way by yelling are not going to suddenly stop yelling and try to get their way by being
Exactly.
quieter. It's just, yeah, it's such a big problem. And it's like it manifests itself in all different ways all over the world. I
Mhm.
mean, there's what's called the coup belt in Africa, which is enjoying a. I'm saying enjoying, which is having a resurgence, um, with people taking like Sudan. I think they've taken military power again, and all that. And it's just like there's issues coming up with Papua New Guinea. China's trying to get a foothold into Papua New Guinea. And it's like, how are we as a country, Australia, how are we going to handle that and our security? Um, it's not like we've never felt the wrath of other countries before. World War II, we were bombed by the Japanese.
Right.
Darwin was bombed something like 42 times.
Mhm.
Broome was bombed. Yeah, so it's, hi Melinda, hi Teresa, Kate, Hack, Tammy, hey. So there's so many. It is so hard. It's not a one size fits all, but there's always been differences between human beings. It's just that we all lived so far apart for so many years that those differences were kept localized. And then expansion happened and colonization happened. And it's, yeah, I'd love to be able to say there's a one size fit all solution and we throw this lovely big blanket of love and security and warmth, and we all dissolve into a big puddle of love around the globe. But that's never going to happen. So we have to learn how to deal with things. There's always going to be these challenges. And yeah. And I was thinking, oh wow, when I did the three cards, they were all major arcana. And then I realized I was looking at it from a global sense. So of course, globally would
Mhm.
be the big cards, the big arcanas. And yeah, um, it's
Hey,
there's
hey,
no easy solution to any
I
of
know,
it.
I know. And it feels like I'm slamming myself against the wall because I want to do this and I want to do that and all that kind of stuff. And I am physically limited and everything else. And so and you get so and so intensely passionate about it that unless you kind of say, okay, for today, I got to set this aside and do whatever else, and then I can pick it up tomorrow, you know, and it gets you. It gets you. Well,
You
does
can't
anybody?
give. People say you've got to give 100% of your energy to something, or it's not worth doing. No, that's not true. You have to give. You can't let an issue wear you down so that you have no energy left, because one issue cannot take up your whole life. You
Mm-hmm.
have your health, you have your family, you have your community.
Yep.
Um, the thing is in not giving up, but in not letting it overwhelm. And that's hard. That is hard. It's easy, like I said, it's easy for somebody to say that, but it's a completely different thing to do. But what you have to do is never ever give up. Never ever give up your hope. What people have to do as an individual is never give up their hope for a better world. Realize that there are going to be some dark days and dark nights, but at the end of them, there's always a new beginning happening.
Mm-hmm.
And realize that helping hand, this card's got helping hand and security on it for the Ace of Cups. And it's like you might feel alone, but you'd be surprised who is willing to put out a hand to you,
Yes.
you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
in a disaster, that Republican you've been having a stoush wish for weeks and weeks and weeks. might be the first one to pull you out of the rubble of your house, might be the first one to go into the rubble of your house to pull you out. And you would probably be the first one to go into the rubble of their house to pull them out if if there was a major disaster. And so, just, you know, just keep getting the message through that deep down where it counts in their heart and in their souls and in compassion. There's a lot of good people, no matter what their political affiliation. And it's true security for a region or an area can only come from true cooperation as well. So it's it's just So don't be afraid to put your hand out. And if you say, I'm going to go down and help somebody because they've just lost everything, and somebody says, oh, you don't want to go and help, then they're a MAGA person. So what if they're a MAGA person? They've just had their whole life destroyed. Everything's been wiped away. They have nothing left. Go and put your heart out to them, and say, what can we do to help you? I get some clothes, have it, or something. Or the other way around as well. It might be a MAGA person might say, I don't care if they're not MAGA.
Yeah.
There's some people.
Yeah. I mean,
so to holding your hand out to whoever it is.
Yeah. Because I mean, the at the end of the day, the bottom line is we are all souls having a human experience. So it doesn't matter if what flavor of human being you are. We're all souls having a human experience. It's not, we are all beings of light that are encased in a body. And that it doesn't matter what that body, if that body has 2 legs, if that body has 2 arms, that's immaterial.
Doesn't matter if our synapses misfire sometimes, or we get caught up in something that is not necessarily that might not be right, but we should, if you want forgiveness from others, you should expect to give forgiveness to others too. And that's part of putting your hand out with putting your hand out with the cup of love, really, with the Ace of Cups. Sweetie, I'm going to have to wrap it up. Again, I'm sorry I got the times mixed up, but
Don't worry about it.
And
I am just so glad you got to be on the screen with me because I love you.
Oh, thank you, darling. And we'll work things out. I'll let people keep an update on people, keep people updated on what's happening with my channel and where I'm thinking of making a few little changes and all that, because nothing stays static all the time. Sometimes we'd like to do that, but you can't, and it's just really, but I love doing this. I'm not going away, but I have had to change from mornings to evenings in some cases. Saturday morning, I just had completely crazy mornings, so I moved my thing to the evening. But I'll probably still go back to my Sunday morning time. It was just sometimes things have to be moved around a bit. But everyone have a lovely time, and stay safe, my darlings, and
stay safe, stay well.
Okay.
And please like, share, and subscribe. And please, if you haven't, please go over to Chrissey's channel and subscribe to her. Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.